Hey everyone, it is Dani and welcome to this update video. And so in this video, we'll be taking a look at what is going on across the North Atlantic. We have Hurricane EARL, as well as that area that is highlighted off Africa, where we could possibly see some development, and models have been showing something very interesting. And so before I go into details, Alright, and so let's go ahead and start out with a view of the North Atlantic, and we see that we have EARL up to the north transitioning into an extratropical cyclone. We have that little blob of convection associated with what was a previously marked disturbance in West 95L. We see a little bit of moisture in portions of the Gulf of Mexico and Central America, and we have a tropical wave that is out there in the main development region. And so let's go ahead and start off with EARL. So we're seeing that on this cone forecast, EARL has sustained winds of 105 miles per hour at the maximum, and it is accelerating to the northeast at 35 miles per hour. So we see that tropical storm force wind extent is very, very wide, and as well as the hurricane wind fields. So these wind fields are very wide as EARL is transitioning into an extratropical cyclone here. And so it should weaken as we progress, maybe into late today, go into tomorrow, and eventually dissipate maybe by the end part of the coming week. But even though it is out there, it is likely to bring some impact to some areas. So in terms of the winds, there's likely going to be strong winds happening in portions of Newfoundland this afternoon through to Sunday after EARL becomes a post-tropical low. And in terms of these swells that are generated by EARL will likely affect Bermuda, portions of the U.S. East Coast, and Nova Scotia and Newfoundland in Canada during the next several days. So these can result in life-threatening surf and rip currents. So please take the necessary precautions in terms of that. And then now let's go ahead and talk about our other systems out there. So there is a tropical wave that is no longer marked by the National Hurricane Center. However, models are showing something pretty interesting for this week. So let's go ahead and take a look at that, and then we'll talk about the actual disturbance that is marked off Africa. So we're going to be seeing what the ensemble members are showing, starting off with Euro. And Tuesday going to Wednesday, we have some members picking up on that tropical wave out there, making its way possibly towards the Eastern Caribbean, and then that other one emerging off Africa but having somewhat of a mainly northwestward track. So this is pretty interesting here. So even though it's no longer marked by the National Hurricane Center, we have the Euro members here expecting that we might see development of this. And where we have the dark blue, that indicates winds of 40 knots, which are tropical storm force winds. So we see that quite a bit of members expect that this will eventually intensify into a tropical storm. And then as for the GFS ensemble members, they are anticipating that the wave that is to emerge off Africa will be developing and making that northwestward track, but they're not really hopping on to the current tropical wave out there developing. So that tropical wave is located to the southwest of the Cabo Verde Islands. We see that convection is very limited right now, and the reason for that is the dry air. So here we have the Saharan dust saying hello again, and looking at it right now, we're seeing that the convection associated with the wave, those spots of shower and thunderstorm activity are located right within that region. So we have all that dry air up ahead, and that is a major obstacle because where we have a lot of dry air, we don't typically have much intensification. So if it is going to manage to pull through and maybe make its way to the western part of the main development region or even into the Caribbean, then maybe we could see development dependent on if conditions are favorable across those regions. All right, and so this marked disturbance now. So here we have this area highlighted with a 30% chance for development of the tropical wave once it emerges off Africa. So the X usually shows the location of that disturbance, and we're not seeing it because the wave should emerge maybe sometime on Monday thereabout. And so we'll have to wait and see what the eventual outcome is going to be for that one. But I mean, we're in the month of September, and as a matter of fact, today the 10th marks the statistical peak of the Atlantic hurricane season. So here we are, guys. guys, in the peak of the hurricane season with nothing much out there. We just have EARL, which is a Category 2 hurricane transitioning into an extratropical cyclone, and it will eventually dissipate as we progress into next week. So now let's go ahead and talk about the model runs now and see what is expected by ICON and EARL. Let's look at that, starting off with ICON. And this map is a map showing the isobars as well as moisture. And the isobars are the black lines, and when you see them being in a circular manner and being very close together, tightly packed with a pressure of at least 10-13 millibars or lower, then we could be looking at a tropical cyclone. And actually up to the north where we have EARL, we see that being depicted. So EARL has a minimum pressure of around 955 millibars right now, actually. And so there we have those isobars being very tightly packed. And where we have that 10-12 millibar low pressure area, that is the tropical wave located southwest of the Cabo Verde Islands. So as we progress into next week, as we head to Tuesday, ICON is expecting that we will start to see some development or some sort of organization with this system. And then behind it, there we have that tropical wave expected to emerge off Africa. And then headed to Thursday of next week on the 15th of September, the model is showing some more intensification taking place of that system, but showing that that tropical wave is maybe going to be weakening a bit out there. So ICON is expecting that the current tropical wave southwest of the Cabo Verde Islands will be developing by that time. So this is by Wednesday of next week on the 14th of September, and EARL is expecting that the tropical wave will be possessing that low pressure area, that 10-12 millibar low pressure area. And though EARL is not expecting much development of it, we can see where it is going to be making its way into the Caribbean, and that is all going to depend on the high pressure system. So if that high remains strong out there, is likely to result in this low pressure area having a continually westward track, maybe a slight west-northwestward motion, but mainly a westward track with it. And so guys, that is what the models are showing. So nothing major is expected within the next week. I'm not going to be saying the next 2 weeks because we have to see what's going to be happening with the current tropical wave and that disturbance to emerge off Africa. And I mean, we're in the peak of the hurricane season, so it is possible that we could see development. But again, that Saharan dust is a huge inhibiting factor for tropical cyclone development. So only time will tell what the actuality is going to be. But as of right now, we're just 5 names in this hurricane season, still waiting on Fiona. Let's see which tropical wave, whether it's the one to emerge off Africa or one that's currently out there, is going to be acquiring the name Fiona, or if none of them will. Only time will tell what's going to happen. And of course, I'm going to be keeping you updated as time goes by, and that is really it for this update video. So if you found it to be quite informative, please leave a thumbs up, and you can share your thoughts in the comments or ask a question. I'll try to respond as best innocent as I can, and of course, remember to always be weatherwise.